quick transition there. Another day of positive news as we see overall the markets gap up on the news of the coronavirus vaccine. And overall, I think the general sentiment is markets are calming down now. They're receiving good news. Individuals are now pretty well assured that Biden is going to be president. So just knowing who is going to be in the presidency, regardless of who it is, settles markets down. However, we have noticed price pretty much sell off since the opening bell this morning. So overall, are we going to continue on with our Bitcoin acceleration or see any kind of divergence from the traditional markets? Let's look at our positions and do some live trading today on Breaking Bitcoin. Yeah, brought the transition back there. Welcome back to another episode of Breaking Bitcoin. Hopefully you guys are doing fantastic today. I, of course, am your host, Justin Wise, lead analyst and senior mentor at Cracking Crypotcurrency. Hopefully all of you are doing awesome. Doesn't matter where you're watching us from, doesn't matter how you're watching us, whether that's on YouTube, Twitch, DLive, Facebook Live, or on Roku, if you are lucky enough with the Investor News Channel app. If you guys want to support the show, make sure to subscribe, follow, share, and engage in the live chat because we're going to be live trading today. As we have been doing, answering your questions, just letting you guys know what we're doing, giving you guys an update on our position, and taking the moments that appear oh so often when humans just engage, like humans, and ask questions to explain things, because we do like explaining things. Make sure, because we already talked about this, I don't have the lower thirds on here because they are slightly ugly, but they're going to work better than nothing. Boom, bam. If you guys want to support us or keep up to date on all the latest, make sure to follow us on our social medias. I'd say the one that I post the most actively to is Discord, of course, but Twitter would be a second close one there. Trying to get better at it. All right, so let's get rid of those. And let's go see. Let me know in the chat if the audio sounds good, if the video looks good. Of course, I think that it does, but I'm just me and I only know what I know. So let's get into the charts. Let's look at the live scene, start with an update on Bitcoin, then we'll move into our open positions, then we'll modify those, and then we'll try to take some new trades today. All right, let's go. All right, here we are on the live scene, and it doesn't want to be live. Why don't you want to be live? Don't you realize there's just so much out there to see? All right, let's figure out exactly why that's happening. Charts. Here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, we got them. All right, starting off with Bitcoin on the weekly. We did have that good, strong candle body close that we've talked about, a good, positive, bullish sign. We did have a nice, I guess I was just going to say more words about about it being a nice bullish weekly close. But as we can see, there is very little wick on that weekly close coming in on BTC USD. Generally, when we're looking at market structure or when we're doing candlestick analysis, if we see less wick, more full body, just like you'd want out of a good shampoo, really. But what they indicate is that there weren't a lot of sellers that stepped in toward the close of that candle or that time period to push price down. And generally, we associate that with continued sentiment in that direction. If you see price break above its previous high, and there is in the candle close, like it doesn't matter what it looks like in the moment on the lower time frames, but overall, if you wait like for the weekly chart to close the week that market movement occurred, and it closes with a long wick to the upside and perhaps even red, then you're looking at generally a reversal candlestick. Well, you're not generally looking at a reversal candlestick. You are looking at a candlestick that could be classified as reversal if you're doing that level of analysis, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to take a trade. It just indicates that that is not as strong of a movement as you might have thought. Whereas if we have a strong candle body close, my word and definition means that we have more body than wick, very little wick generally, almost a shaven candle, which would be no wick. That especially with a rise in volume is generally indicative of an actual breakout. And we can see this with time transformation on the meso timeframes. This is exactly why time transformation as an indicator, one that generates entry signals, has that unnatural volume function on it so that you can identify those areas more easily. So this is something good to see, especially for continued bullishness. Just looking at the candle close on the weekly would indicate continuation of the uptrend. Again, though, as we've pointed out before, if you're looking for the right entry, again, as you can obviously see, depending on what time frame you're trading, but I would not say that, with the exception of, I'd say Saturday afternoon, evening to early Sunday, there was really only one good long trade. There's only one good long trade intraday that one could have taken. But again, depends on your strategy. All right. Thank you so much, Michael. He says audio and video are great. Is that a money printer? Yes. Yeah, you can get them on eBay, bro. They're only like $200. Get one. So we've had price come down a little bit since the weekly close. Let's go look and see on the 3-day what we have going on. The only thing that I want to point out on the 3-day is that we are currently forming an aggressive 13 count. All right. Let me make sure. Actually, no, I'm sorry. We did the aggressive 13. I took that off. That's actually sitting right here. So this is actually the normal TD sequential countdown, right? It is giving us a 13. So it's not a setup. If you guys are unfamiliar, a TD, or at least the way this indicator works is when you get the indicator that it counts to 9, right? You guys know this much. It counts to 9. That is considered a setup, right? So a setup can occur within a trend, right? So ideally, if you have price moving to the upside, in this case, Bitcoin appreciating quite gloriously. Let me just put it that way. When you reach a 9, it's generally not an indication if you are in an uptrend on the macro time frame. So if you're in a weekly uptrend and then the daily hits a 9 count, it is a signal to take profit or fade a breakout, depending on what kind of trader you want to be. If you want to trade against the dominant trend, i.e. reversal trader, which Tom DeMark was and still is, to the best of my knowledge, then you would look to fade those breakouts using that 9 count. Finding an overbought area of the market is a very similar way to consider that, right? The 9 lets you know when price is overextended, but it doesn't necessarily indicate that the trend is shifting, right? Whereas a countdown, which can only begin after a full 9 count, so a setup is 1 to 9, a countdown begins after a completed setup and begins counting to 13. And so there can be multiple setups that occur as a countdown is forming. And when the countdown completes at 13, that is considered a wider market reversal signal or trigger, and generally where you would, again, look to either take profit or look to fade the trend all the way back down, ideally getting in at the very top of a bearish trend. Remember, and this is something I don't think people consider, right? Just simple things, obviously, when you state them, but the beginning of a bearish trend is often the end of a bullish trend, right? So those two areas of the market share the same place, and so it can often be confusing what to do in those areas. So generally, what I recommend and what we recommend individuals is probably not too much, right? You want to take the trades that you feel comfortable with, that you've optimized, that you've tested. So if you are in an area of the market where you're not sure what to do, then you probably shouldn't throw money on not sure what to do, and that's okay. The white button up over the white t-shirt is very Backstreet Boys, says Andrew. That's rough. Man, you guys are so mean to me. It's a VeChain. It's VeChain, guys. It's VeChain. All right, so let's go into... so that's all I wanted to talk about. I'm not taking any action on that 13 necessarily itself. I do have my short position still open, and we're going to look actually here in just a moment and see if we should close that out. We have BTC USD on the daily. Again, the PTP structure that we've been looking at does not indicate still an exit. We are in the take profit area that I had mapped out all the way back when we broke out of the rectangle top, using previous support and resistance, as well as using extensions, as well as using the volume profile on those macro timeframes, dialing in to try to find those areas where price would be likely to go. And I honestly didn't create this with a lot of stock in this, because I'm not trading around these lines or these levels, but just kind of sufficing to show that price has pretty reliably gone to those areas, hung out for a little bit, as we did here, continued on up, and here we find ourselves in zone 2. So will we make it to zone 3? That is going to be starting at about 18,800. So that's a ways up there. If we go there, I mean, we're at new all-time high levels. So oh, okay, thank you guys. Thank you guys for letting me know that Andrew was. I'm sure it was a good. It was such a good thing. It's always been my dream to be compared to the Backstreet Boys. All right, let's go down to the 4 hour here, and then we'll wrap up by looking at the lower time frames and seeing if we want to do anything with our position intraday. Now, on the 4 hour, we do see price getting sold off into, as I was expecting to see, again, consolidation, and there is a pretty big sell-off there down to our 4 hour 55 EMA, a little bit below the 21. But again, we can just see that so far, price has attempted to make a move down. We have formed a lower high, and we are currently forming a higher low, indicative of consolidation. This hasn't broken predominantly in one direction or the other. Like I will be quite frank with you. I've seen this structure in many different markets on many different time frames. Where we are pushing to the upside and we seem topped out, especially because we were moving into the weekend. It was quite, it's pretty normal to know that on Friday, if we've been pumping all week, we're probably going to go sideways and sell off because you're only going to get, you get a lot of volume decrease over the weekend, and you get a lot more retail traders because people are more active to trade. So overall, where does the market go? Well, nobody knows quite where to take the market because the people who take the market where it goes aren't trading on the weekends. And so price just generally ranges, and we end up right back where we closed, on Monday. We often trade into or open on Monday, right where we ended trading on Friday. So, and that's pretty much the case here. Good morning to you as well, David Rice. He says, man, Backstreet Boys put in that work. I'm not going to lie. They did put in work, bro. They did put in work. Mr. Ether, thanks. We're headed to 18,000. All right, well, let's go, man. Don't, please. I am very, very happy to be on the Bitcoin train. It's a good time, man. Like I've been trying to think lately. It has come to my attention recently that I guess I don't take enough moments of gratitude, right? So when they come upon you and you just like stop and you evaluate your life and where you are and just how things are going, it's really, I'm sorry, I don't have any other words for this, guys. Like I'm really happy with just where I am, and by that, I mean in Bitcoin, right? Like I've been purchasing Bitcoin since 2016. I've been trading it since 2016. And just to watch the number overall go up since the moment I began investing, it's just a good feeling. It's a good feeling to know in 2020, right, that I have Bitcoin. Doesn't matter how much you have. Doesn't matter, how well you're trading it necessarily, unless we're specifically talking just about trading, then that matters quite a bit. But just in general, like realize, guys, you are here on a Monday afternoon in my time zone, watching me trade and trying to learn how to improve your trading, but you're missing something there. We are in cryptocurrency. We own cryptocurrency. We hold cryptocurrency. We support the community. We have Bitcoin. We're proficient with it. There are people out there who still don't even know how Apple laptops work, for example. They don't really, but it's good to be on the right side of the history. It's good to be on the right side of the trend, right? It's just a good thing to, in 2020 during coronavirus, have Bitcoin and be live streaming about it too. So if the transition into Q4 is getting you down, I highly recommend just taking a breath and looking around at what you do have, because likely it's probably pretty cool if you really stop to think about it, right? At the end of the day, you're here in Bitcoin. And if your biggest concern is just not making exactly as much money as you want to trading, or perhaps just improving your strategy, or just perhaps feeling better about how you trade, well, we like to call those first world problems. All right, so 4 hour BTC here, coming down off the 55 EMA on the 4 hour, and we could put our general structure on here, but this is just pretty clear to see. Remember, guys, all our technical indicators are designed to do is give us information, right? So we either want, generally from technical indicators, this is why I enjoy trading with them, we want an objective entry signal so that we can evaluate our trade history and know exactly where to make modifications should we run into a problem. Either we're not making enough money or we're losing too much, kind of the same thing, but they're quite different actually. But ultimately, at the end of the day, we have to take the trades that either our system gives us, or if we're trading discretionarily, we have to attempt to accumulate as much information as possible. So there's nothing magical between one system and another. It's just the information that it gives you that is sufficient enough to generate the motivation or the framework in which to take trades sequentially and categorized and labeled so that you know what you're doing and you know where you're going based on where you've bet. All right. So on Bitcoin here, on the 4 hour, I would be still looking for an intraday long. I do see some signs of topping here. But again, if we short from here, which I am, so let's keep that in mind. I'm talking about trade setups to look for. we would be betting against the trend. So far historically, the intraday setup, the predominant trend has been to the upside. The profitable trades have been on intraday to the upside. So last week, as we were live trading, toward the end of the week, so really the first day we started, I had 2 successful long trades on BTC USD trading long. Price has consolidated over the weekend, tried to sell off, but we're going to take, I would say that anyone watching that 4-hour would be justified attempting to take that either reversal baseline bounce or reversal within the trend setup intraday on BTC here to the upside. So, but again, I'm also not saying that I think this is going to continue up in its upwards trend. I'm not quite sure. We'll have to wait and see what the market does. If we end up breaking above resistance and charging up, well, it doesn't really matter what you think will happen. Something did happen, right? So then you would want to shift, take your L, and go into either your breakout strategy or sit on your hands if you don't have a successful way to make money in that scenario. All right, so given that that's the case, something that I forgot to mention, going back to the daily here, is still, let's see here. So looking for areas, looking for areas to exit hedges. This is something that I want to talk about. So for individuals that are hedged, or let me put it to you this way. For individuals that are short in this area and that are in profit, again, it's going to depend on what time frame you're trading. If you're trading on the weekly time frame and you are short Bitcoin at these levels, wrong chart. If you're short on Bitcoin at these price levels on the weekly time frame, you are trading a reversal, and that is predicated, as it was for me, on some form of fundamental, on some form of caution, or perhaps it's the right life choice for you. For example, and this is something that that is very important to talk about. If you are an individual who has had amazing success trading lately, and you have accumulated more capital than you've ever thought possible, like you just had a really knockout crazy year or month or week, whatever, and you know that you don't feel 100% confident about the trade setup that you might be pushing all of that capital into next, I would say certainly discretion is the better part of valor. And the smart thing to do in that situation is probably just not do anything. You don't have to take a position. You can be flat, and that's very healthy and very good. So for those situations, right, of course, that can be the right decision here as well. So fundamental reversal makes sense here. Technical reversal, doesn't yet make sense to me on the weekly time frame. I'm seeing what could be setting up to be a good technical reversal on the weekly time frame. If we do end up closing this candle as a doji, but it's Monday. We just started trading into this candle, so I have really no opinion on that until we just get some more data ahead of us. Again, on the 3-day, the 13 countdown is pretty good, pretty indicative. However, it does backtest sporadically because you can set it how you like. You can set it a lot of different ways. There's lots of possibilities for backtesting or for optimizing. Really, we're talking about optimizing the way that your TD sequential indicator works or operates if you're utilizing one. So again, this would be calling for caution too. I think that individuals who buy into this, we haven't yet had a breakout. So you're buying a proposed breakout, which makes more sense or is more common during a pretty violent uptrend. Just keep in mind, you guys want to keep your risk low. You want to keep your stops tight until you actually are able to nail that right entry. And assuming the price does end up breaking to the upside, that you're able to go ahead and ride that second wave. And again, on the daily, we are in that take profit zone. I would be taking profit here and looking for, again, my next setup or signal. Of course, PTP still has you in this trade, and it has for quite a while. That's that IFT RSI is the exit indicator, being very good there. All right, let's see here. What do I think here on the 4-hour? The 4-hour here isn't giving me a lot of information as far as a trade setup that I would like to take, right? What I think that I'm going to do, let me think about this for a second. So given the fact that we're in an uptrend, and given the fact that we are currently forming a higher low, it's not confirmed yet, but looking at what action I need to take now as far as my money is concerned or my trades are concerned, let's go over to old ByBit. So looking at this, I know you guys can't see it yet, but you will in just a second, or just a moment actually, when we finish this analysis, come to a decision. 4-hour looks in the like it's in the middle, right? We've got parallax here. It's come back to the 0 line. We were a little negative, maybe a little brief print of positive, but overall, the 4-hour indicators here for parallax, the 4-hour technical indicator parallax for Bitcoin here would be generating more of a short bias. The fact that we formed a lower high, the fact that we're forming a higher low just confirms consolidation, doesn't really give us an indication as to what direction price will go. So I really do think the best thing to do here is to look for an area to take profit on your short and re-enter if we do end up breaking this to the downside by forming a new low. And then you can either get short on the correction or the rally off of that, following that, because price moves down and then up and then down and then up, or up and then down and then up and then down. Or you're gonna wait patiently for the breakout trade. There's nothing really crazy here. Let's get my reversal indicators or ranging indicators on here and see what we can do. All right. See here. I mean, that is some pretty, I don't want to say steep, but it's significant divergence, right? And it's not really divergence, it's convergence, right? It's the opposite of divergence. That's what I mean to say. We do have a lower low, and of course our oscillator makes a lower low, but it makes a significantly lower low on the oscillator as opposed to the actual lower low difference in price. I don't want to read into it too much, but all right, so this is the strategy that we're using on the lower time frames for Binance margin. But here on Bitcoin on the 4-hour, let's just see if we have anything. We have time transformation letting us know that price was topped out in this area. Price does pull back down to just a little bit above the 0 line there, about halfway between the 0 line and the oversold threshold, actually. And we don't really get a good line crossover. We get some weak coiling here, but we do bottom above 0. And there is that. It was a little late on that one. I'm not gonna lie, on the 4-hour. That one could have came early. Would have been nice here. Here's the entry trigger. There's profit potential there, but that doesn't really look like a winning trade on the 4-hour. I have to pull out Quadriga to be sure, but pretty sure that's a loser. As opposed to how quick it was with that cross under. So yeah, this could resolve several different ways. So I don't think I'm gonna do anything except for. If it's intraday, I'd have to look for the intraday setup, which for me was oversold conditions, utilizing, for me anyways, it was looking at that premium funding indicator and my ISA spot indicator. You can utilize Minx if you're following along at home. You can use time transformation if you're a premium member, or if you are not a premium member, you could utilize the momentum oscillator of your choice, confirmer of your choice. I mean, you can really obviously build your strategy any way that you want, but for me it's pretty simple, looking at what is the trend objectively on the higher time frame, and that means what is price's closing value relationship to its moving average, right? So above their moving averages, we have price in an uptrend. The angle of the moving average tilted up as opposed to down indicates a uptrend on the higher time frame, to which we trade in that direction on the lower time frame, looking for a trigger. And the trigger that we're using for Bitcoin here, at least intraday, is the ISA spot buy signal, with ideally funding being negative in the case of looking for longs or positive in the case of looking for shorts. And this is similar. It's almost the exact same thing that we're doing on Binance as well. But with Binance, we're using the 1 hour as opposed to the 4-hour here. All right, so an interesting metric that I want to point out, and this has been really, really helpful for my trading to watch over the past few weeks, is Bitcoin volatility. So BVol divided by, so Bitcoin volatility over the last 24 hours divided by Bitcoin volatility over the last week. And as I've said several times this last week, the way to use this, or the way to get this to improve your trading, is to look to exit positions when volatility reaches a peak. In this case, the area that I've marked off as significant is 0.55. That's the area that I utilized. So ideally, one of the best things that we could have done is exit our position when either volatility, when this line went above whatever area we've marked off as our threshold for upper volatility. And how I got this was simply looking back at that indication over time and basically seeing how high it goes on average, right? So where are all the peaks? Okay, cool. let's just run a line that would have caught all of those peaks to the best, kind of like a best fit. And it is. It's a good best fit, 0.55. You could use a different one. Doesn't ultimately matter. You just want something to let you know when volatility is quite high as opposed to quite low, rather than just the numbers on the side of the screen. And below us, we have marked out low volatility, which lets us know when volatility is quite low. That's what it says on the 10. So you can enter positions when volatility is quite low because expansion follows. And therefore, if your directional bias is correct, you'll be able to generally enjoy quite a big movement. If you're and this is why you should have a good stop loss, should you be wrong or be willing to reevaluate your position. And again, it's easier to do that the more objective that it is, right? So if your exit or early exit sign is some kind of moving average crossover or something like that, then that's what you're going to want to be watching for so that you can actually follow the rules of your trading strategy. So let's see here. I think the best move would have been to close out any positions following BVol's dip back into low volatility, which again could have been highlighted by the fact or sort of presaged by the fact that, of course, we're moving into the weekend. So, of course, volatility is going to die down because there's just simply less volume sloshing around. Which, you know, actually, having just thought about those words that came out of my mouth, is not really, does not necessarily have to be the case. You can have high volatility and high volume and low volatility and low volume, but often you get high volatility and low volume and low volatility and high volume. That's generally how it works. The more liquidity that you push into a system, the harder it is to move price because there's more willing buyers and sellers at every price level, every potential price level. Philly talking about the Forex markets being very volatile. You know, that's volatility is a good thing, right? So it's kind of like a fast car. You just don't want to be afraid of it. You know what I mean? You have to find a way. I mean, that is one of the fundamental characteristics of the market is volatility. How quickly are we moving? You want to be able to harness volatility in a way that secures your profits. So looking at Bitcoin volatility here, I don't see us moving down very, very close to that 0.21. But of course we did here, and we did have a pretty explosive movement out of there. So we're going to watch Bitcoin volatility getting quite low is going to be indicative of a trend flip or something that we need to pay attention to a little bit more significantly. But for right now, I just wanted to point that out. All right, so ultimately, we're going to make our decision here on the 5-minute. Is this the right area to exit this position for me? And for you guys who I realize I haven't shown this, let's go to... There we go. There we go. I think, no, it's the same thing that we just had. There we go. Come on now. So over here is the position that I opened up live and am managing for you guys, or just really so you guys can see. 12,000 contracts I got short on BTC. This was pretty much from Friday. The trade began on Friday, and I've added by doubling the position. Let's see here. So 1, and then I added 2,000 to bring us to a total of 3,000, and then I added 3 for 6 and another 6 for 12. So we're currently at 12,000 contracts on BTCUSD over here on this exchange account. So we are in profit on this trade. We're about halfway back up to our entry level. So this is really for this trade. This is a little bit more discretionary. But certainly for this trade, the consensus would generally be, in my opinion, if you put your stop loss at break even here, you're going to have a losing trade or you're going to have a break even trade. Excuse me, you're not going to have a losing trade, but you are, I mean, technically, because fees would be reduced if you haven't taken any profit. But, you know, again, I think a lot of members or individuals who were trading would have had a good opportunity or took a good opportunity to take some profit on that position. And if profit has been taken at somewhere near that lower range that price got to, then moving your stop loss to break even does make more sense. But overall, if you're in this trade, as I am, and you haven't exited any of it, moving the stop loss to break even, in my opinion, or in my experience, right, certainly almost always would be kind of like inviting a losing trade or a break even trade. So that is not what we want to do. All right, let me figure out how to turn this off. And it took away the normal charts. I don't like this setup. There we go. Okay. I fixed it though, guys. Don't worry. So what do we want to do here? All right, on the lower time frames here, we can see that price is about halfway to being overextended. And overall, this was my thought looking at this, because when I woke up this morning, I heard for my morning news brief, obviously you guys are aware of this, there has been the announcement from Pfizer that there is now going to be a coronavirus vaccine, right? The details of which I believe are on the sticker. So I don't know the specific details, although I know that my team does. Someone shared them with me, like exactly how many doses, what the frequency is. But overall, let's just keep it simple and say that this is good news, right? It's good news that the market is responding to. And what's really interesting, though, is that the futures got bought up all pre-market. And then we open up on a down day. Like we just have basically sold off since the morning bell this morning. So it is really interesting. So what's happening right now with Bitcoin is interesting as well. Are we going to form a higher low following all this, or are we just pulling back off of the bottom to consolidate? And overall, it does seem to me like price wants to continue pushing. The reason why is because we're just hanging out there at resistance. We cleared the previous high. We cleared the previous high on this candle right here, and we have held that area. We do see a little bit of selling right here, but again, just forming kind of a mini another high. You know what I mean? It's not impressive enough. It's not wide enough for me to consider that like a real swing. But you can just see the attempt of sellers to step in here and break the trend or just get off the position. And they were failing. They are currently failing because price is looking like it wants to push to the upside. So we're going to go ahead and because of that, because I do think that it's more likely than not that price continues to move and we haven't gotten our entry for the short trade, I'm going to go ahead and close out my $12,000 BTC short position here in profit as price is moving to the upside. So we're going to do that like so. Click. Boom. Done. At market value. So we've been able to secure that trade. So if you're following along at home or if you're taking the trades that I'm taking, that's exactly what I did. And again, the reason why is because it does seem to me on the chart, it's more likely for price to move up. Now, am I going to get long here? No, I'm not going to get long here. The reason why is because that would be way too sloppy. We do need to have some form of signal that gives us a statistical edge more often than not. For us, that's quite clear, or at least for me, the strategy that I'm utilizing here and would show you guys is going to be looking for those. Oh, shoot, you didn't even see me do that because I did not put the ByBit on. All right, so you guys didn't see me actually close that position out, but it is no longer there. Okay. And the way that I did that was just by clicking the X next to the active position to have the position closed with the currently available liquidity on the exchange. Hey, B-Flow, good to see you there, my friend. All right, so now let's go ahead and close that out in the journal as well, so I stay on track of that. Go 12. Let me know in the chat how you guys are doing, what you see, what you're trading. Let's see here. Volatility was massively impacted by opening bell weekend backed up demand. Yeah, of course. I mean, sometimes that's the case. It's not necessarily always the case. There are certainly going to be like weekends and times in the market where, you know, Friday closed boring, Monday opens up boring. But not today. There's a lot of fundamental pressure coming off of everything that's happening right now. Let's see here. It's odd the way it did that. Oh well, I shall live with it. Let's look at our exit price was 15,291.50. Okay. 15,291.50. We'll go ahead and take 100% of that. All right. Doesn't like that the sum of the take profits is greater than 100%. How are we ever going to get guys that do 110% though? Yeah. Let's see here. Ooh, and we did start late though, so we're going to do I do have to do a shorter show today. By the way, I wanted to talk about this because we often don't talk too much about things beyond trading. I want to give a big shout out to all my friends who came by this weekend and helped me work on my house. It was really, like, I'm not gonna lie, it was back-breaking labor. Reinforcing my walls the way that I did, as well as doing the waterproofing. But I just wanted to give them a big shout out because I know they watch the show too. They often don't talk. But thank you guys. I really appreciate that. And every single day it just gets a little bit more beautiful, And I'm pretty excited, guys. I'm pretty excited about that house, the next house that I'm going to be moving into. To take my family, and it's going to be cool. It's like every single day. But I'm not going to lie. This weekend though, like, from how much labor do I have to output from my body? It was rough. It was a lot of work. I am exhausted. I am still tired, and I do have to go finish it up when we're done with the show. But then it'll be done, and I can focus on trading for the rest of the week. And the next project won't start until not this weekend, but the weekend after that. Get all the wiring done because I don't know about you guys, but I like to do a good job. So that'll be exciting. All right. Here we are on ZIL BTC. So Alex and I had identified ZIL BTC as something that we had wanted to get into our position on. We were looking at the weekly, looking at the overall trend on the weekly, but we're certainly not there. We're not in a bearish trend, so we wouldn't be looking to short that. And you can certainly see from the ZIL USDT pair something that's interesting and something that you can see from a lot of the markets, which is that they are looking to turn over, right? Or they're in a position where turning over would be likely, right? So, we of course have had a lot of blood in the streets for altcoins trading against Bitcoin, and that's natural. Bitcoin dominance is pushing to the upside. Let's go over to the charts here and get that clarified, actually. All right, so here we are back in TradingView. This is what we're going to utilize to actually find our setup and explain it. Okay. So we looked at this weekly chart of ZIL USDT, actually. Oh, and by the way, just quick update as well, because I didn't mention it. It's going to be over. I feel like there's not a good reason why it should have been over there, though. Should have been over here. Gotcha. Okay. For those who are following along, and again, I know you guys have access to the trading journal as well. I just wanted to remind you, or just mention anyways, that STX BTC was closed out, and we are still, and I want to thank Alex for updating this on the sheet. Avalanche BTC, we are still in that short position on Binance margin. We've hit take profit 1, and stop loss is now currently at break even. Foam roll out the lactic acid and get after it. Yep, that's what you got to do, man. There are times in my life when, so I am naturally a more self-conscious person, right? And to the degree that I've been able to conquer that or deal with it, my life has improved. So I wonder what. So the point that I wanted to make there was, when you say, I know what you said in jest there, but really, life is like that. There are people who might look at you, for example, for putting together a trading strategy, right? Your spouse or your friends, might ask you, hey, why are you, taking all this time on Friday evenings to sit in front of your computer and, back test, whatever the heck that is, or look at all these charts and try to figure out how to trade and all that stuff. Why don't you come out to the bars? Let's go have fun, or do whatever it is that normal people do. And, you got to realize eventually sometimes in life that there's nothing cool about being normal. There's nothing cool about generally doing what other people do just because they're doing it, right? There's nothing wrong with being normal. Being normal is a good thing. but it's not something that's desirable just in and of itself, right? So I would say that the choice for me in my life to not go out and have a lot of I don't want to say not have a lot of fun, because I certainly do have a fun life, but I made sacrifices in my life. I made choices to focus on trading and to focus on learning how to trade and to become better, and I did. And I guess the difference between, I guess, weird, although that's the wrong choice of word for what I'm trying to talk about here. But the difference between, I guess, people perceiving you as weird because you're doing something, and you doing something is generally your grit, your tenacity, like having the tenacity and grit to actually know what you want and then go out there and get it. Because most people don't. Most people do not actually strive for what they want. Most people are lazy. Most people accept the prepackaged easy answer. Most people don't want to put in the time. Most people won't put in the time. So yeah, we're gonna roll out that lactic acid, and we're gonna go get it. Yeah, we get shadow banned. It happens. It's okay. As long as I'm here, I'll have something to talk about, and I'll always be here for you guys to come listen if you guys like. So anyway, Zilliqua on the weekend. Let's go ahead and do some analysis of this, and then we're going to go try and find a good optimum entry here, because I did want to take this trade. So Zilliqua on the weekend is put in, as Alex pointed out, some really good distribution, right? We do have, of course, this blow off top. And I don't even want to call it a blow off top, but we'll just go ahead and use that word. It's better than nothing for right now. We have that occurring back here in June of 2020. And the market has pretty much traded in a tight but wild range since then. We sell off, we come back up and form a lower high, we form a lower low, and we are currently forming a lower high. So actually, a range was the wrong word for me to utilize there. This is a downtrend. It doesn't really look like a downtrend when you look at it like this. Certainly when you look at it like this. Well, actually, when you look at it like this, it becomes a little bit more clear. So maybe it was just the fact that I had the chart too narrow. But yeah, but just structurally, by definition, we have a lower high, followed by a lower low, and we have a lower high. So onwards and onwards. Now, this trade, ZIL USDT. Keep in mind that USDT pairs are going to perform well when Bitcoin performs well, and they're going to perform poorly when Bitcoin performs poorly. So USD and USDT pairs almost always, USDT and USD altcoin pairings are very much linked to what Bitcoin as a whole is doing, because they are relegated to market capitalization, as all things are, and Bitcoin takes up the largest portion of that. So having that said, you want to, I'm trying to think of how best to explain this, because it was so clear for me and Alex, really finding the best solution to the question, should I trade alt USDT pairs or should I trade alt Bitcoin pairs? And the answer is yes. That's the answer. The answer is yes. So if you trade alt BTC pairs in conditions where Bitcoin is moving up, then you do have the opportunity to accumulate more BTC or earn good BTC in profit. Whether you convert that into cash or fiat, that's your business. With Bitcoin moving down, however, we've figured this out. We've done these calculations so many times and tried to get to the bottom of it and get the best answer. And I think we really did. I think we really struck on it. If you are watching the crypto market as a whole come down, which you can determine from either looking at total crypto market capitalization or just, by using your eyes, this price on average moving down or moving up over the last week, month, year. And so trends are usually easy to identify that way. If you go long an alt BTC pair, in general, while price is moving to the downside in the USDT pairs, you do have the opportunity to make excess BTC. But just overall, I think we figured out that that the risk reward ratio, or the returns possible from that strategy, is not worth it. Because you'll have more losing trades than you normally do, because the market as a whole is in a downtrend. So you have to be careful about that. When to trade alt BTC pairs, I think makes sense just when it makes sense to trade alt USDT pairs when the market is broadly moving up, right? You don't want to be long altcoins if we experience like we were with altcoin just moving down and Bitcoin moving up, which happens when Bitcoin just takes the scene and does its own thing. Most of the time, Bitcoin's kind of slow and a little bit lazy, but if people are doubting how far you can go, go so far that you cannot hear them anymore. That's what I'm talking about right there. Yes. Yes. Do you? You know, I don't think enough people talk about that, but that is very important. Like, just do what you want, what makes you happy, and do it in such a way, if you know, again, you don't necessarily have to, but somebody might correct you. And by somebody, I mean law enforcement. So do what you want, do what makes you happy, as long as you don't hurt other people, and try to be honest and just strive for what you want. Strive to be a better person, strive to work harder, be smarter, be better. You know, like, wake up thinking that, like, make that the goal of your existence, not, you know, little specific nuances in the here and now. Those things are transient. They will come and go. All things are transient. All things will come and go. Yeah, like the sheer, I guess, the ability to actually be honest and open and tell people what you want and just live a good life it's rare, unfortunately. It's very sad that it's rare. Philosophy Armchair 101. All right, guys. So we are going to do about 15 more minutes in the show. So I want to get through this. So Zilliqa here on the weekly, we didn't, I just said all that to say that for this trade, because the market is still broadly moving up, I do see ZIL USDT kind of in an area where it could be shorted if you're looking for that weekly trend flip, but we don't see that yet. There's no confirmed trend flip. And I think you'd have to, break a pretty strong case to actually make that. As you can see here on the weekly time frame, we're hanging out above the 21, we're hanging out above the 55. So in all of our moving averages, none of them are pointed down, right? So even if a breakdown does occur from the ZIL USDT pair, well, what that's doing is that's presaging a breakdown in the general cryptocurrency markets, actually, because we're looking at the USDT pair. So since the overall markets are broadly moving up, it makes more sense to be long biased, and therefore we're going to trade ZIL BTC because we have been trading BTC pairs due to the liquidity and ease of trading, as opposed to USDT pairs online, like with our live trading, what we've been doing here. So Philly asks, as the market capitalization for USDT moves up, how does price manifest, as it isn't tether one-to-one? Well, supply and demand. It's supply and demand. So the market capitalization of tether, since each tether is pegged to $1, or pegged, then increasing the market capitalization, therefore, by definition, means increasing the monetary supply. Like, you don't invest in tether, right? Like, there's either more tether circulating or they're not, because market capitalization is simply current price times circulating supply, or total supply, depending on how you talk to, but it's circulating supply. So, generally, what I know that we've noticed, and I don't have the chart in front of me, but I do know the fact, is that when we do see large scale printing of tether, right? When there's a lot of new tether that's added to the system, generally price moves up because somebody bought tether or got tether for only one reason, to buy cryptocurrencies. And when you buy things, price moves up. So, yeah, so I couldn't say exactly specifically how, nobody can, how it will manifest on any individual occurrence. But if the market capitalization of tether increases, I think that it makes sense to also see the market capitalization of Bitcoin and the other major alts move up as well. That is the primary vehicle for purchasing those things. Yeah. So here we have ZIL BTC on the weekly, and we actually are not in a strong trend on this chart. The weekly is a little flat. We're actually in a bit of a downtrend here. This doesn't really change my thought on the trade or my desire to take it. I do see this as, so this is a discretionary reversal trade. So let me talk about the things that I like here, right? But now that I'm looking at this chart, and as I verbally walk through this, I don't think I'm going to take this trade anymore. And you will realize why if you've been watching regularly here in a little bit once I finish. So we have the CC script up. What do we see here on the daily? We see that price has actually fallen below the 200 daily exponential moving average. And not that there's anything magic about the 200 exponential moving average. It's just that overall, in general, if you have if you are looking for the area to enter, once price breaks down below the 200 EMA, unless you do catch the bottom, which is only going to happen once, every other single trade is going to be in the wrong direction, right? Because the market has been moving down and you are attempting to long. Now, there is profit opportunity there. Obviously, people make money doing it. But it's just the statistical likelihood of it being the best strategy that you could adopt. And I would say shorting things when they're below the daily 200 exponential moving average, or excuse me, longing things below that, generally not a good idea, unless, as I said, you are able to capture that actual bottom that only occurs once, right? Or somewhere near to it. Yeah, so Zilliqua here tested the daily 200 EMA here once, two, three, four, four times before making the new low that we just formed. And that was really the thing that I like to see about Zilliqua. You know, Alex had brought this one to my attention, and a quick glance at this chart and just seeing the cyclical nature of price moving down does kind of highlight that, well, after this nice pattern right here, we could actually put in, again, a good, nice push to the upside, which would make us quite happy. So I am going to monitor this one on the higher time frames here, on the dailies here, and look for my right setup, because although I do like the fact that we're making a new low, so certainly if I were to purchase now and it is the low and we move up, that in general I've gotten a more optimized price than waiting for a higher time frames trend flip. And I didn't see anything necessarily that I wanted to talk about with regards to that on the other charts. So let's see here. This is fundamental on my Tether understanding, as this new cash seems a precursor for imminent crypto price action. Let's see here. Good stuff. Good stuff. All right. So we're actually, unless we can see something really amazing on the lower time frames, let's just go look at the messes and see what we got going on. Yeah. So see, when we really do drill in and kind of take a different look at this, we do have somewhat of a reversal, not somewhat, but a raw reversal trade set up for us. Because certainly the trending indications are that we're actually breaking down here and not trending up. So looking for that long it is not the best move for me. It's not the best trade because it's not within the strategy that I've laid out for these purposes. So we are not in a daily uptrend on ZIL BTC. And I think that that is a better bellwether for how the altcoin markets are doing broadly. Like just in general, my perception after looking at all of the available Bitcoin pairings to trade that I look through in my scan when I'm looking for trades. So Zilliqua is not the one today. Normally we'd be using the 5-minute chart, looking for those particular areas. And at 125 sats, it can be difficult to do sometimes. You're buying at 126, 127, guaranteed, locked in. All right. Gary says, Stan Druckenmiller says he is on the Bitcoin train. Choo choo. Choo choo. Let's see here. Let's go to, see if we can't find us a setup. So we are on the daily time frame here. We're going to be performing something of a daily scan. Let's look at gold, silver, and oil. All right, cool. Let's do that. That's not a bad idea, Alex. We only got about 7 minutes left in the show, guys. All right. Now, here is the thing with regards to gold. Well, so I took PTP here. So I took the PTP signal from the system that I've been using to trade gold, and gold decided to take this opportunity to remind me of how humble you need to be as a trader. So this trade has pretty much gone absolutely down not since I bought it, because the position was secured earlier, but it seems like that OBV is going crazy down there. Huh? That was weird. Wonder why I did that. So anyways, ZAL USD, which is the CFD for gold, just a massive sell-off today, man. Just a massive sell-off. Huge bearish engulfing candle on the daily. Let's go down and see if we're at a bounce area yet. One moment, guys. Get the audio back on here and make sure that I'm actually in front of the computer. Gonna have to mark this area out with yellow tape or something, but guys, here in a few weeks, as we start, probably actually like a month or so, Yeah, about, I wouldn't say longer than 6 weeks, probably about a month. Because my current goal is to get everything done or get moved into the new house before Christmas. Because the last few things that need to be done are the wiring of the house, which I'm going to enjoy doing over the next few weeks. Although, again, it's something you could knock out in a day if you had a team. And I certainly can't have people help me. But I know what I'm doing. I know exactly how I want it. And it's just something that you can do over the course of like 2 hours or so a day. You know, put an hour a day into it and just chip away at it. So let's see here. Gold spot on the 4 hour here really has just started moving into its into a bearish posture, but this is not confirmed. I would not really do anything here. I could see the only setup that I really see here that I like or would be favorable to is just because gold moved down so violently to trade probably not for swings on this. Like this area, price being sold down, making that low, that new low, as you can see, and then just trying to find the words that I wanted to express here. Why I was highlighting that wick there was just indicating because we moved down on such high volatility, that initial buyback, whether it's just limit orders getting filled or general market desire, generally pushes price up back up for a tradable bounce. A couple different ways to do this, of course. You can use Fibonacci if you want, or extensions, or you can use Quadriga. You can use a lot of different take profit areas. But the main key point that I wanted to point out here is on charts like this, as I say, I don't look for new all-time highs as targets, right? Or not new all-time highs, but just new highs as targets. I simply look to take those trades kind of as a reversion to the mean strategy and take them back to the middle. So gold is in a sit and wait spot for me. What I will say is this. Let's go back up to these. Let's go back up to the highers here. All right, yeah. So gold, we can see this pretty clearly on the weekly chart. Gold has been consolidating downwards in kind of a, I would have called it a flag, but not so much now anymore. But certainly you guys can see the bearish tilt to this, right? We are forming lower highs. We're looking very similar to Bitcoin here, but just spread out differently because we do sell off initially from a high, then we form a low and then a lower high, but it's very close. And that is generally, if you're looking for which way the market's going to move with discretion, these are going to be areas where you're not going to probably make the best choice. This is why you need an objective system that helps you trade, and just tells you what to do when. It's beautiful to have. So we've got yeah, Max saying continuation on gold. We've got Amber saying that they would short gold because of the new gold mine that was found. Let's see. He says overall, I don't think that gold is something that would be good to short just because of the idea that more will be found. I mean, gold certainly has, of all currencies or methods of payment or mediums of exchange that exist on the planet Earth, I mean, gold's the oldest one, right, that we still use. So I would say that gold certainly is liked and valued just for its own intrinsic value. It can be used. Obviously, it has hardware applications and electronic applications, but it's gold, man. It's gold. So yeah, I don't necessarily know if I agree with the idea that price will go down because gold mines will be found. Right? That seems like gold's been broadly going up most of the time, and they're able to figure it out. So if we do end up taking out these new lows here on gold at 1864, I would still look for continuation here to the downside, actually. So how do we figure that out? We just simply put our trending indicator on here. And depending on what baseline we utilize as a rule, or if we do utilize that rule, something to keep us out of trades for no reason, something that confirms positions, why we should take these things. We do have price moving down to the 21 exponential weekly moving average. And two big volume bar signatures. I'm inclined to think the gold actually breaks down from here. It's looking like the more likely trade, or the more likely scenario, given what we know. and given the chart in front of us. So what would make a good place to actually get that exposure? Well, if we are able to form, or excuse me, like where would one want to put on that trade? Where would one want to put on that trade? Well, as price bounces off its current lows. So here's let's go with that 4 hour again. As you can see, price is bouncing off its lows because we swept the previous because we swept the previous low for liquidity. Price can move pretty volatile here. So yeah, kind of the riskier trade is certainly taking the long up to about kind of this yellow indicator right here. The 200 exponential moving average would not be bad. That would be kind of the initial area, just trying to capture about 50% of the movement that it made when it formed the range on its high. So that's a tradable bounce that one can trade. And then the second one that I would be looking for is my mind has failed me now. Completely failed me. Sorry. So the other, the other setup would be looking for a short because we have actually broken the higher time frame trends there, and look for overbought conditions on our meso or micro time frame to get a better entry for that. So I do not see the 4 hour being overbought. I certainly see it being oversold, if anything, and it's not even quite that. So yeah, taking a big step back there from gold. And we'll finish with silver, guys. All right, so here we are on Awanda, and again, looking very similar, right? So this is almost identical. I'm going to recommend the exact same thing for this pair as well. All right. All right, so listen, guys, I apologize that I got to leave so early, but that is what we got to do. So thank you guys for coming. Let's switch over to this scene. Didn't get a chance to talk about the news, but I got a chance to show you guys the charts, look for different setups. We're going to keep our eye on ZIL BTC. As I said, I don't see the entry trigger yet, but we are going to be monitoring and looking for one. So if you guys are trading at home or premium members and you guys are following what we're covering on air, if you're following what's going on in the Discord, keep your eyes for Ziliquid BTC on the watch list. Nah, Mac, I can't do the silver to gold, man. Ultimately, I feel like the only information that I get out of that either is just is that there is more profit opportunity for silver. All right, thank you guys so much for joining me for another episode of Breaking Bitcoin with your host Justin Wise. Hopefully, you guys are having a great day. Continue to have a great day. Enjoyed the stream. If you guys would like to help the stream out, small things. Like leaving a comment down below on a question you legitimately have. Ask away in the comments. I do have quite a bit of submissions for what we talked about last week, looking for individuals to post the best trade setup that they had, and we would utilize that as the pool for who to select to give away these items from the World Series of Trading. So we've got a ByBit t-shirt. We have got a ByBit, let's just call it, I can't remember the name of that cube from Hellraiser with Pinhead. Yeah, we'll call it the Tesseract for right now. But kind of like a Rubik's Cube, like a ByBit thing. It's really, really cool. The ByBit glasses are super, super awesome. And then we, of course, have that messenger bag. So the messenger bag and the t-shirt are very good quality. I really thought they were cool. Plus, they're pimped out with your favorite exchange, ByBit. So we will, over the course of this week, I'll work with the moderators to select the right winners, and then we will go ahead and ship those out to you by the end of the week. Make sure to stay on me about that, moderators. You're hearing me. So we do have a lot going on this week, but it's going to be a good week, guys. So overall, we are watching, or I am watching, certainly myself, Bitcoin, making sure to be able to take advantage of intraday movements, and that's certainly the right thing for me. And then monitoring the altcoins. But again, overall, guys, I want to be very clear about my kind of general thread here. This is an area of the market where a lot of people are going to make mistakes. And if you're not sure about why you're trading the way that you're trading or what you're doing, often the best place to be is flat. It's no position. It allows you to just watch the charts and not worry about the fact that your money is also watching the charts, so to speak. So anyways, if you guys want to support us, again, like I said, make sure to comment down below. Join us in the Discord. You guys can help out over on Twitch or DLive by hitting subscribe or follow. Keep in mind that if you do not turn on notifications and enable all notifications here on YouTube, you will not get notified when we go live. Can confirm we are very prone to shadow ban. So, yeah, thank you guys for joining me for a Monday morning update. Trade safely out there. I would love to see some of your setups in the Discord. Let me know what you think I should be looking at. And if you got a great opportunity out there, send her on my way, guys. Until tomorrow, we'll be back at 12 p.m. and I'll be on this evening to post some updates as well and do the regular premium member maintenance. So look to catch me then, and I will see you guys tomorrow for another live stream. Be good and trade safely, everybody. Cheers.